Hello, I'm Jackie Lucky, your financial planning maestro. This series of podcasts is aimed at financial planning professionals and also those who are looking to enter the financial planning profession. We will be talking during the podcast about all things Certified Financial Planner certification related, talking to other CFPs around the world, and also we will be dropping in on some new entrants who've just entered the financial planning profession, and we'll be checking up along the way on a regular basis with them to see how they're getting on. I hope you enjoy today's podcast. Hello and welcome. I'm Jackie Lucky, your financial planning maestro. And in today's podcast, we are talking to a very special guest of mine, and we're talking about all things Certified Financial Planner related and the CISI Level 7 case study assessment. I'd like to introduce you all to Oluwaseun Apta, who is Director and Owner of Bright Star Wealth Management. Hello.
Hi, Jackie. Thank you for having me on your podcast.
Well, thank you very much for joining me. And we have quite a lot to get through today and lots of tips I know that you've got in your pocket there to share with everybody about your journey to become a certified financial planner. But before we get into all of that, just give us a little potted, quick whirlwind history of how you got into the financial planning profession, please.
Okay. Thank you so much, Jackie. So my journey into financial planning and wealth management started several years ago. This happened when I joined Standard Chartered Bank. I joined on a fast-track graduate program, and the requirement of the program required that you do a bit of rotation across several business units. So after graduating from the program, then you settle into a role. And fortunately for me, I had the opportunity to settle into wealth management. And that was the department I settled in. And I got the role of a product manager for managed investment and secured back lending. So it was like two roles in one. You know, I had my hands really, really full.
Yes, I bet.
So, yeah, and in general, the role was basically to support the investment advice proposition, the financial planning advice process within the business, and support them with the right products, the right funds, and to deepen product penetration across all of the existing clients in the bank. And on the other side, I also offered lending facilities to investors who would like to use their investments as a collateral. So in doing this, I actually worked closely with investment advisors and relationship managers and external stakeholders. And I saw how the investment advice was delivered. I saw how it helped a lot of customers to achieve their goals. And I saw how satisfied they were and the peace of mind it brought to them. And the business also did very well. So all of this exposed me to the products available in the market space, how they were manufactured, the research that needed to be done, and different strategies, employed by the fund managers. So, and I liked the conversations around the growth, inflation, interest rate, and valuations and economic policies. So I did some trainings, and so on a few occasions I dealt with clients directly, and I felt great doing that. And the feeling I felt was because the customer was really, really happy and satisfied with the solutions that were delivered to them. So that for me was something that was very, very good and self-fulfilling. And that's how I actually got into the profession. So it started several years ago.
Wow.
Actually.
Excellent. Excellent. That's great to hear. And great to hear that, you progressed along a graduate training program and, you had the opportunity to talk to clients, because I think some graduate training programs, you kind of go from one back room to another, don't you? But actually having that exposure, gives you that opportunity, doesn't it? Just to, dip your toe in the water and see whether you like it. And obviously it suited you. So that's great to hear. So tell me about, at what point did you come across the CFP and decide, right, I'm going to bite the bullet and become a certified financial planner?
Okay, yeah. So I got to know about the CFP whilst I was attending one of the webinars organized by the CISI, that's the Chartered Institute for Securities and Investments. And I began to do some research about certification. And after doing those research, it became clear to me that was the path to follow. Okay. And I decided to undertake I only started doing the certification about 2 years ago. Yeah. And that was because I recognized that the CFP certification is globally recognized as the global standard for financial planning professionals. And since I wanted to become a financial planner, I knew that the CFP would give me the necessary knowledge and the skill to deliver the best-in-class service to my clients. And I also found out that's from speaking to other CFPs and also listening to them on several forums. I discovered that it distinguishes you as a thoroughbred professional. And what the CFP actually communicates is professionalism, commitment to a high standard, and trust, and it means trust to clients. So I also learned that with the CFP, you can also have a rewarding career while also helping other people and achieve their own goals and objectives. So that's how I actually, that's how I got to find out about the CFP, and that's why I decided to undertake the certification.
That's fantastic. And did you know that there are more than 227,000 certified financial planners like yourself now around the world in 27 different countries?
Yeah, yes. It's a privilege to be one of them.
Yeah, it's enormous, isn't it? And actually, when we look at it, the numbers in the UK are growing. They're over 1,000 now, but still comparatively small considering the global numbers of certified financial planners, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. And I encourage everyone who actually wants to undertake this certification to go ahead and not to give up, even though you might, if you encounter any challenges along the way, don't give up. Just do it. Just keep on doing the right things that you need to do, and you'll get there.
Yeah, keep on doing the doing, keep on plugging away, as we've said on numerous occasions over the last few months, haven't we?
Yes, that's true.
So let's get into the nitty gritty then. So what was your route in? Did you do the level 6 exam and then go on to the level 7 case study?
Yes, I did a level 6. Actually, I started with the level 4, and then I did the levels. After passing that, I did level 6, and then I went on to the level 7.
Excellent. Gosh,
yes.
A serial exam and assessment taker then we've got on our hands here today. So how did you find the level 6 exam particularly?
Well, it was a little practical. The questions were practical. It was straightforward and direct. I did it once. I prepared for the exams myself, and I just went in and I did it, and I passed. It was good. It was not so challenging as the level 7, I would say. Yeah.
Excellent. Right. So yes. So then did you go straight on and obtain the level 7 case study and kind of dive straight into it, or did you have a little break between finding out that you passed the exam and then taking up the level 7 case study?
No, it was after I found out I passed the exam, then I went in for the level 7.
You went straight in for it. No messing around. Yes. So you bought your level 7 case study. Tell us a little bit about what your experience was like. First of all, talk about how you approached your particular case study. What was your time management like, and what was your kind of overall approach to start with?
Well, I would say, and to be very honest with you, it was tough. Level 7 was tough, and it was stretching for me because, I mean, if you think about the requirements, you have to write a maximum of 60 pages and invest up to 200 hours, right, into the case study and demonstrate that you have an understanding into, you understand all of the assessment standards and criteria. And I think what made it difficult for me initially was the fact that when I was doing it, I was not an advisory role, right? So I was a contractual consultant working in the financial crime area in financial services. And it was not so easy balancing work and writing the case study. So in order to make my life easy, what I did was, of course, I tried to read through the case study, try to understand what it was talking about, and I realized that I needed help. So I began researching on how to get around the case study, who to go to for training, and I came across your firm, and I registered for the course. And the first thing I did after registering for the course was to go through the entire coursework. I listened to all the videos, the podcasts. So that gave me a general understanding of the quality and the standard of work that was required and what to expect. So and I think what the course gave me really was the structure to work with, because I had no clue on how to put everything together to deliver a good report for submission.
Yeah.
So one thing the course really gave me was the right structure, and I'll say to anyone that if you carefully follow the structure laid down at the course, you'll have a very good chance of fulfilling all the assessment criteria, right? And then again, it was the rigor and the depth in which you have to go, to build the case from ground up until completion. And of course, the one-to-one counseling session, I think I had about 2 or 3 counseling sessions with you, and that provided me the opportunity to ask questions. And I also signed up to the CISI mentorship program. And I had a mentor at Adrian Kidd, and he encouraged me to carry on my work. He shared his experience with me, all that he had to go through to get it done. And that gave me the motivation to go all out, to even if working even till the very late night, just to get everything together. So I think for me, I think the game changer was when I came across your course and decided to register for it.
Fantastic. That's great to hear.
And it was really helpful.
Excellent. Thank you for that, Suin. That's very kind of you to say so. So let's talk about where there, along the way, once you had that structure in place, were there particular stumbling blocks where you just thought, yikes, I need to take a bit more time here, or this is new to me?
Well, for me, it was the estate planning session. And I recall when I had those one-to-one sessions with you, and I raised the challenges I had, because I was like, Jackie, how do I just put all of this together? How do I just piece them together? And I remember that you gave me some guidance. Okay, I think this is how you approach it, and I was silly not to follow through, and I paid dearly for it. Actually,
you paid. Oh,
yeah,
dear.
I paid dearly for it. So, but I had another opportunity, and of course, with the CFP certification, you have, I think, 3 opportunities to make a submission. So I had another opportunity, and I had this session with Jen, because you could see from the expression on my face that this time around I was really, really serious about it. So so you gave me the same guardians, right? And I said this time I was going to do it, and I think I was wise enough to follow through. And and lastly, I think I also met a mentor as well, who also more like told me to consider all the available options and explain why this might not be a good fit for the customer, and pretty much just justify all the things I was meant to do to ensure that I considered all of the options that I was recommending to the customer. And that also aligned with what you told us in the coursework, right? So I knew this time around that I was armed with the right approach, the right formula, and I knew what to do. And I was just going to go out to fully put all of the information out there and justify the reason why I've chosen certain recommendations for the customer. Yeah, and I think that was the game changer for me in the second attempt, and I was glad when the result came out. It was a good pass.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Well, congratulations again.
Thank you so
I'm
much.
very proud of all the hard work that you've put in along the way. And like you say, your determination, it was written all over your face every time we met. Absolute 100% determination to keep going and get this done and become a certified financial planner. So well done on having that determination. And I think it's really interesting that you mentioned there about the estate planning section. And I think we've had the conversation before about the estate planning section being the most commonly failed section of the assessment that I've seen, certainly in the last 12 months. And partly I think is because it's because part of it is because people run out of steam, because that's commonly the last section that we're dealing with. And by the time you've got that far, you've spent the majority of your hours, you're absolutely sick of the clients. You just want to chuck the case study in the bin. And you just kind of feel a bit overwhelmed. You're kind of running out of steam, and it's easier to make a mistake when you're in those final throes of putting that last bit together. But I think also the other component part is the bit that you mentioned, about how to put it together and how not to jump to conclusions about making those recommendations. And I think that's a big thing that actually, as financial planners, we need to remember, that the client doesn't really appreciate all of the thought process that goes on behind the scenes to give them that best fit in the overall picture of advice that you're giving. And actually, potentially from a legal perspective, it's actually good to kind of check ourselves at the door and say, now, hang on a minute, I'm not going to demonstrate what my fantastic technical knowledge is. This is about using my technical knowledge and applying it to give my client the best advice. And if the best advice is the simplest advice, then so be it. And that's where considering those different strategies comes in, and the advice that your mentor gave you. And I think we do have a tendency in this profession to kind of skip ahead and just kind of go, oh, yes. I know what the various strategies are, but I'm just going to tell the client what the solution is. So do you think that looking back, those kind of principles of things that you've learned will actually help you moving forward in your, in your new business?
Yes, definitely. It has to be all about the client, right? At the end of the day, because the client has to be put at the center of everything, and it has to be put first. And you have to ensure that you're delivering the right outcome for the client. So it's not really about what you think is right, but it's about ensuring that you understand the client's situation, ensure that you understand what the client is trying to achieve, and then you use all the knowledge and skill you've got to help the client to achieve that goal and that objective for the client. And that's I think what it should be.
Yeah. And that takes time sometimes, doesn't it? Did you find yourself during the coursework kind of pondering and going away, making a cup of tea, or some of the people have reported getting so frustrated they've kind of opened the back door, had a good scream, slammed the back door and come back to it? Did you go through a kind of range of emotions while you were going through the case study?
Yes, I did. I did. Of course, because it's something that takes you 200 hours, right, to put together. It's not a walkover, isn't it? And I think, Jackie, I think the course is designed to be tough. I don't know if you agree with me. It's designed to be tough and tricky. When you go through the process, it sort of like brings out the the best in you, though the frustrations are there, the late nights are there, and I had to go through all of those. Sometimes, I think on one or two occasions, I found myself, waking up at night and then, seeing how can I put one or two things together. And I think one of the things that he does is that it also challenges you to think through the entire process. And you'll find out that what you'll find out, I think I'm talking from my personal experience, is that it's all connected, right? So you have to think through how one recommendation you're making here would affect another recommendation. Okay, so you have to ensure that in all, right, it makes sense.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, you will just find that you have a lopsided, you put together a lopsided plan. So you have to think through it. And that's what I had to do. I found out that, I've had to think through the process. And, I think I finally got this. I'll go, I change it. And then I go to bed and I wake up and I say, oh, why did I do that? I think that was really silly, I'll go back and change it again, especially when you're working with the template, what one change you make here, it affects everything, especially when you have to work with the assumptions, when you have to put the assumptions in place, of course, you have to justify the assumptions, but then you have to ensure that you're doing the right thing and everything follows through and it makes sense. And you have to think through pretty much the start to the end and ensure that it does make sense for the customer and then it does deliver the right outcome for the customer. So so I think that was the experience for me. Yeah, it was quite challenging. Yeah, but I think in the long run, it brought out the best in me.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that you are 100% not alone in waking up in the middle of the night and thinking, oh no, I've done something wrong, and then having to go back and change it, and then going, oh no, maybe I shouldn't, kind of second guessing yourself when you get to a point, don't you?
I had to tweak my coursework several times. And that was because, when you work and then you get to a particular stage, I said, I don't think the recommendation I made here would sit right. So you have to go change and change and change and change and change. And it's just ensuring that at the end of the day, you've done the right things for the customer and you've thought through the process and it makes sense and it delivers the right outcome. So you spend a lot of time thinking through the recommendation and solutions you're putting forward.
Absolutely. And so looking back now, do you have a feel for how many hours it took you, including all of your thinking time and all the nights that you were woken up by these clients? How long? Do you think it was within that kind of 150 to 200 hour range, or do you think it was, either side of that?
Yes, I think so. Yeah. If you can appreciate the fact that though I had a very good background in wealth management, but at some point I had a detour into financial crimes, and then when I was doing my project, it was I wasn't advising at the time, so you'd expect that it would take me a longer time. So in total, I think it took me about 150 to 200 hours, if not a little more.
Yeah.
With a couple of late nights here and there. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. But obviously with the support of your family and your children as well. I mean, they're a vital part of your support network, aren't you? When you're going through an assessment, like especially holding down, a very comprehensive and important full-time job as you were then too.
That's, of course, definitely. And I would want to give credit to my wife. She was very supportive all through the process, and the kids as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Cheering on, Dad. Get it done, Dad. Come on, Dad. That's great to hear. So looking back now, we've talked a bit about how it's challenged your thought process. You've started your new business. How is there anything different that you've done in your business since you've gone through the course and become a certified financial planner? Maybe set up differently, like assumptions or, your general approach. How is becoming a CFP professional, how has that colored what you do today?
Well, I think it has helped me to really focus more on the client, and because it's really about the client, isn't it? And I think what the CFP gives you, it gives you a structure, it gives you a process that is repeatable, right? So first of all, you have to understand your clients, right? Understand what they're looking to achieve, understand their goals and their objectives. That's and then you have to go collect the right information from the client. So, and that's the fact find process. So you have to challenge the client, ask lots of open-ended questions, and that will get the clients to reveal a lot of information that would feed into the advice that you need to put together for the client. And then you have to now go back and do your research and ensure that whatever you're putting together, it actually helps to meet the client's objectives, right? And then also ensure that you from time to time check with the client to be sure that the client's situation hasn't, of course, changed. So, for example, for me, it's with my business, it's more about putting the client first and the center of everything, and ensuring that you do right for the customer.
Absolutely. Exactly. That's fantastic to hear. Great to hear. And congratulations on that, big step, starting your own business, your own financial planning, wealth management business, isn't it?
Yeah. Thank you so much.
So, Seun, we're nearly at the end of our interview today, and I just wanted to ask you what advice that you have for all of those people who are out there listening to you discuss about your journey to become a CFP professional. What advice do you have to those people who are thinking about starting their journey or maybe are just, dipping their toe in the water at the very start of the process?
I'll say, do not give up, right? If I can do it, then you can also. So I'll say do not give up. Follow the structures laid down in the course, because in doing that, you have a great chance of meeting all the requirements that is required by the examiner, right?
Yeah.
And then ensure that when you make an assumption, ensure that you justify it, right? You don't just say, okay, maybe you make an assumptions for inflation rate. Don't just say maybe it's 2%, there's 3%. You have to say exactly why you've arrived at the particular assumptions that you're making. And of course, you expect to have done some research, right, in arriving at that assumption. And then I also want to say, don't delay to the last minute, because it definitely serves you no good, right?
Yes.
Strive
Not talking
to finish.
from personal experience at all.
Exactly. That was one of the mistakes I made at the first attempt, So don't wait, don't delay to the last minute. Strive to ensure that you finish your case at least 2 weeks before the submission deadline. Take some time off and come back with a fresh pair of eyes. I can assure you're going to see something different you need to change. Okay.
Yeah.
And and always remember that you can do it. Right. Then there's light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah. Seun, it's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you today. Thanks so much for joining me on the podcast.
You're welcome, Jackie. Thank you so much for having me.
It's really interesting, isn't it, to listen to different people who have different experiences of gaining their Certified Financial Planner certification, or maybe developing the financial planning profession at large. If you know anybody who you think might be interested in listening to any of these podcasts, then please do pass on our details. That's it for me. I hope you've enjoyed today's episode. See you again soon. Bye for now.